$43 short. I stared at the bills spread across my bed like they might multiply if I counted them one more time. They didn't. They never did. My mother's next treatment was due in 6 days. 6 days to find $43 that might as well have been $43,000. I'd already worked every shift the restaurant would give me. My feet ached in shoes held together by hope and superglue. My uniform smelled like garlic and desperation no matter how many times I washed it. Pride is a luxury. I knew that. But it was the only thing I had left that no one could take from me. I shoved the cash back into my purse and pushed through the kitchen doors into the dining room of Ristorante Bella Vista. The Friday night crowd was already gathering. Women in silk blouses. Men in watches that cost more than my annual rent. They didn't look at me when I refilled their water glasses. I was part of the furniture. Useful. Invisible. "Elena, table 7 needs wine," Patrick hissed as he rushed past with a tray of pasta. Table 7. I grabbed the bottle of Barolo, checked the label twice because getting it wrong meant getting screamed at, and headed toward the corner booth. That's when I felt it. The shift in the room. Conversations didn't stop exactly. They just got quieter, tighter, like everyone was suddenly aware of their own breathing. He walked in like he owned not just the restaurant but the entire block. Maybe the whole city. Mid-30s. Dark hair that fell back from his face in a way that seemed effortless but probably wasn't. Sharp jaw. Sharper eyes. Tattoos traced up his neck and curved around his hands in patterns that looked like they meant something. Something dangerous. 2 men flanked him. They wore suits that fit too well and expressions that fit even better. Blank. Watchful. The kind of men who made problems disappear. Our manager, Giuseppe, practically tripped over himself rushing forward. "Signor Vitali, what an honor, we didn't know you were coming, please, the best table, anything you want." Vitali. The name dropped into my stomach like a stone into deep water. Even I knew that name. Everyone in this part of the city knew that name. You didn't say it out loud unless you had to. Matteo Vitali surveyed the room with the calm of a man who had never been afraid of anything in his life. His gaze passed over me for half a second. Less than half a second. I didn't exist to him. But I wanted to keep it that way. Giuseppe seated him at table 12, the best spot in the house, tucked into the corner with a view of everything. The 2 men who came with him took a table nearby. Close enough to act. Far enough to give the illusion of privacy. "Elena." Giuseppe grabbed my elbow hard enough to bruise. "You take table 12. And for the love of God, don't mess this up." My heart kicked against my ribs. "Why me? Let Sophia do it." Sophia called in sick. Male. Be perfect. Perfect. But in my worn shoes and my apron with a fraying edge and my exhaustion hanging off me like a second skin. I approached the table the way you'd approach a wolf. Slowly. Carefully. Ready to run. "Good evening, Signor. May I offer you something to drink?" He didn't look up from the menu. "Surprise me." His voice was smooth. Controlled. The kind of voice that didn't need to yell to be heard. I nodded and turned to go, but his hand lifted slightly. "Wait." Froze. "What's your name?" "Elena, Signor." "Where are you from, Elena?" The question felt like a test. "Palermo originally." "Sicily." He said it like he was tasting the word. "Long way from home." "Yes, Signor." "Bring me the Barolo. And whatever Giuseppe says I should eat tonight." I escaped back to the kitchen, my pulse hammering in my ears. Patrick caught my expression and whistled low. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse." Table 12. Just don't look him in the eye and you'll be fine. Men like that, they don't really see people like us anyway. He meant it as comfort. It didn't help. I returned with the wine, hands steady through sheer force of will. I showed him the label. He nodded without interest. Began to pour. That's when my exhaustion, my fear, my entire terrible week caught up with me. My hand trembled. Just slightly. Just enough. The wine didn't spill into his glass. It splashed onto the table, drops of deep red scattering across the white cloth like blood. Time stop. I waited for the explosion. The anger. The humiliation that would get me fired and leave my mother without treatment and prove that I couldn't even do this one simple thing right. Matteo Vitali looked at the spilled wine. Then at me. And he laughed. Not a cruel laugh. Not mocking. Something almost warm. It's just wine, Elena from Palermo. He leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. Tell you what. I'll give you $20,000 if you speak to me in Neapolitan for the rest of the evening. My brain stuttered to a halt. What? 20,000. But it has to be Neapolitan. That's the deal. He was teasing me. This terrifying man who made the whole restaurant hold its breath was teasing me like we were old friends. I don't speak Neapolitan, signor. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I speak Sicilian. Something flickered in his eyes. Interest. Real interest. Sicilian, he repeated. Even better. He let me go then, turning his attention back to his menu. I cleaned up the spilled wine with shaking hands and fled. Hey there, my wonderful friend. How's your day going? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story so far. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. The rest of his meal passed in a blur. Brought food. He didn't speak to me again. I told myself I was relieved. I was lying. The restaurant began to empty as midnight approached. My feet screamed. My back ached. I had $43 to find and no idea where they'd come from. Elena. Giuseppe appeared at my elbow, pale and sweating. Table 12 wants to see you before he leaves. Why? How should I know? Just go. And whatever he wants, say yes. I approached Matteo Vitali's table for what I hoped was the last time. He was signing the check, his movements unhurried. Elegant tattoos shifted across his hands as he wrote. He looked up as I arrived. Those piercing eyes locked onto mine and I felt pinned. Studied. You work hard, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, signor. How many shifts do you work a week? 12. Sometimes 14. That's illegal. I said nothing. Legality was another luxury I couldn't afford. He set down his pen with careful precision. Come work for me. And blinked. I'm sorry. You heard me. Be my secretary. $100,000 a month. The number was so absurd I almost laughed. Almost. But his face was completely serious. That's not. I can't. Why would you? Because I need someone I can trust. Someone who works hard. Someone with pride. He stood, and I had to tilt my head back to hold his gaze. Someone from Sicily who won't be impressed by Neapolitan games. You don't know anything about me. I know you're terrified right now, but you haven't run. I know you spilled wine on my table and didn't make excuses. I know you work yourself to exhaustion and still stand straight. He pulled a card from his jacket and held it out. I know enough. I stared at the card like it might bite me. Think about it, he said. Call the number on Monday. Or don't. But the offer stands. He walked out with his two shadows trailing behind. The restaurant seemed to exhale as the door closed behind him. I looked down at the card in my trembling hand. Matteo Vitali, CEO Vitali Enterprises. And a phone number that felt like a door to another world. A world I had no business entering. Giuseppe appeared at my shoulder. What did he say? Nothing, I lied, sliding the card into my apron. Just thanked me for the service. I finished my shift in a daze. Took the bus home to my tiny apartment in Little Italy. Climbed 4 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken again. My mother was asleep on the couch, her breathing shallow. The medical bills were stacked on the table like an accusation. Next to them my pathetic stack of cash. $43 short. Or $100,000 ahead. I pulled out Matteo Vitali's card and stared at it until my vision blurred. Pride is a luxury. But so is survival. And I was so tired of choosing between them. Monday morning arrived with rain that matched my mood. Gray. Uncertain. Relentless. I stood outside a coffee shop 3 blocks from my apartment, Matteo Vitali's business card clutched in my hand. The edges were already soft from how many times I'd touched it over the weekend. $100,000 a month. The number was obscene. Impossible. Which meant there had to be a catch. Men like Matteo Vitali didn't hand out that kind of money for secretarial work. They couldn't. But my mother's medication cost $1,700 a week. The treatment she needed, the one that might actually save her life, cost more than I'd make in 5 years of double shifts. I dialed before I could change my mind. 2 rings. Then a woman's voice, crisp and professional. Vitali Enterprises. My name is Elena Russo. Mr. Vitali told me to call this number. Silence. Then, 1 moment please. The hold music was classical. Expensive sounding. I almost hung up. Elena. His voice hit me like a physical thing. Smooth. Certain. Like he'd been expecting my call. Signor Vitali, Matteo. Just Matteo. I could hear the smile in his voice. You're calling about the position. I don't understand why you'd offer me this. I don't have experience. I don't have references. I don't even have a college degree. Do you want the job or not? The bluntness should have offended me. Instead, it felt like relief. No games. No pretending this made sense. Yes, I whispered. I want the job. Good. Can you start today? Today. I'll send a car to pick you up. Where are you? I gave him the address of the coffee shop, not my apartment. Some instinct for self-preservation still functioned. 20 minutes, he said and hung up. I stood there in the rain, phone pressed to my ear even though the line was dead, wondering what I'd just done. The car that arrived was black and sleek and so clean it looked like it had never touched a real road. The driver was one of the men who'd been with Matteo at the restaurant. Up close, he looked even more dangerous. Miss Russo. He opened the back door without smiling. Mr. Vitali is waiting. The interior smelled like leather and money. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, trying not to touch anything. We drove for 30 minutes. Leaving behind the cramped streets I knew for wider avenues lined with trees. The buildings got taller. Newer. The kind of neighborhood where people like me only entered through service entrances. Vitali Enterprises occupied the top 5 floors of a glass tower that reflected the sky. The lobby had marble floors that clicked under my worn shoes. Security guards nodded at my driver like they knew exactly who he was. We took a private elevator. It moved so smoothly I barely felt it. The doors opened directly into an office that took up half the floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows, I thought, then remembered that was forbidden. But that's what they were. Huge windows overlooking the entire city. A desk that looked like it cost more than a car. Art on the walls that might have been real. And Matteo standing by those windows, hands in his pockets, looking at me like he could see straight through to my bones. Elena. He crossed the room toward me. You came. You sounded like I didn't have a choice. That smile again. Warm. Unexpected. You always have a choice. He was dressed differently than at the restaurant. Still expensive but more casual. Dark pants. A white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing more of those intricate tattoos that wound up his forearms. They looked like they told a story. Probably one I didn't want to know. Let me show you around. He led me through a series of connected rooms. Conference rooms with tables that sat 20. A kitchen that looked like it belonged in a restaurant. Offices filled with people who stopped talking when we passed. Everyone looked at him with the same expression. Respect. Fear. Something in between. This will be your office. He opened a door to a room that was bigger than my entire apartment. A desk. Computer. A view of the city that made my chest tight. You'll manage my schedule. Screen my calls. Attend meetings with me and take notes. Keep things organized. I turned to face him. Why me? Really? He leaned against the doorframe, studying me. You want the truth. Please. Because everyone else who works for me wants something. Money. Power. Access. They smile and lie and pretend to be loyal while they plan how to take what's mine. His eyes never left my face. But you looked at me like I was a problem you wanted to avoid. You didn't want my attention. You didn't want anything from me. I want your money now. No. He shook his head. You want to save your mother. That's different. That's honest. He pushed off the doorframe. I need someone honest, Elena. Even if it's just one person. The vulnerability in his voice caught me off guard. This man who made entire rooms go quiet with fear, admitting he needed something. Needed someone. My mother is sick, I said. Very sick. The treatments are expensive and they're not working well enough. I'll work hard for you, but I need help. What does she need? A surgery. Experimental. The doctors say it's her best chance, but insurance won't cover it, and the cost is. I couldn't finish. How much? $250,000. I waited for him to laugh, to take back his offer, to realize I was too much trouble. Instead, he pulled out his phone. Type something. What hospital? St. Vincent's. But I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. He looked up from his phone. Give my assistant the details. The surgery will be scheduled within the week. My knees went weak. I can't accept that. You can. You will. His voice went hard. Your pride is admirable, Elena, but don't let it kill your mother. The words hit like a slap. 'Cause he was right. Because I'd been so focused on not owing anyone that I'd been letting her die slowly. Why would you do this? My voice broke. You don't know me. I know enough. He stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something dark and expensive. And maybe I want to know more. The air between us felt charged. Dangerous. I should have stepped back. I didn't. Your mother, he said quietly. What's her name? Rosa. Tell me about her. So I did. Standing in that enormous office with the city spread below us, I told this dangerous stranger about my mother. How she used to sing while she cooked. How she came to America with nothing and built a life through sheer stubbornness. How the sickness had stolen her voice first, then her strength, but never her smile. Matteo listened like every word mattered. Like I mattered. She sounds like you, he said when I finished. Stubborn. Strong. Too proud for her own good. Is that a compliment? Always. A knock on the door broke the moment. A woman entered, tall and elegant with dark hair pulled back severely. She looked at me like I was dirt on an expensive rug. Matteo, your 2 o'clock is here. Cancel it. Her eyebrow arched. It's the Donovan contract. You said it was critical. I said cancel it, Isabel. His voice didn't rise, but something in it made the woman's spine stiffen. Reschedule for tomorrow. Today I'm getting Elena settled. Isabel's gaze flicked to me. Cold. Cessing. Of course. I'll take care of it. She left without another word, but I felt the hostility like a physical thing. Don't mind Isabel, Matteo said. She's been with me for 3 years. She doesn't like change. She doesn't like me. She doesn't trust you. There's a difference. He smiled. Give it time. She'll come around. I wasn't so sure. But I had bigger things to worry about. Like the fact that I'd just agreed to work for a man I barely knew. A man whose last name people whispered. A man who was offering to save my mother's life for reasons I didn't understand. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Matteo's assistant, a nervous young man named Carlo, showed me the computer systems, explained the filing structure, gave me passwords to accounts that held more money than I'd ever imagined existed. Mr. Vitali doesn't usually hire people himself, Carlo confided as he showed me how to access the calendar. Especially not for positions this close to him. Isabel handles all the hiring. Then why did he hire me? Carlo glanced toward Matteo's closed office door. I don't know. But he must see something special in you. Mr. Vitali doesn't do anything without a reason. That's what worried me. By 6 o'clock, my head was spinning with information. Matteo emerged from his office, jacket over his arm. Come on. I'll drive you home. You don't have to. Elena. He said my name like a reprimand. Stop arguing with me about every small thing. Save your stubbornness for the important battles. The smile took the sting out of his words. I followed him to the private elevator. His car was waiting in the garage. Not the one with the driver. This one he drove himself. Low and fast and probably cost more than a house. Address? He asked as we pulled into traffic. I gave it to him reluctantly. Letting him see where I lived felt like exposing a wound. But if he was horrified by the neighborhood, he didn't show it. He pulled up in front of my building like it was any other place. Elena. He turned to face me. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Carlo will have your employment paperwork ready. Sign it. Give him your mother's hospital information. The rest will be taken care of. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Something dark crossed his face. I'm not a good man, Elena. I'm not doing this out of the kindness of my heart. I want something from you too. My pulse jumped. What? Honesty. Loyalty. Your time and your attention. His eyes held mine. And maybe, eventually, your trust. That's all. That's everything. He reached across and opened my door. Dismissed. But gently. I climbed out into the rain, my mind spinning. At my building's entrance I turned back. He was still there watching, making sure I got inside safely. I raised my hand in a small wave. He nodded once, then drove away into the night. Upstairs my mother was awake, wrapped in blankets on the couch. Mia cara, you're late. I was worried. I sat beside her and took her thin hand in mine. Mama, I have something to tell you. I got a new job. Elena, the restaurant. I quit the restaurant. This is different. Better pay. Much better. I squeezed her fingers. And Mama, the surgery. The one Dr. Spector mentioned. We're going to do it. Her eyes filled with tears. We can't afford. We can now. My new boss, he's helping us. Elena, what did you promise this man? The question cut deep because she knew me. Knew I'd do anything to save her. Nothing I'm not willing to give, I said. Trust me, Mama. Please. She searched my face for a long moment, then nodded. You're a good daughter. Oh, good. But be careful, cara mia. Men who give expensive gifts always expect payment. One way or another. That night, lying in my narrow bed, I replayed the day over and over. Matteo's smile. His questions about my mother. The way he'd looked at me in his office like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Isabel's cold eyes. Carlo's warning. The way everyone in that building moved around Matteo like he was the sun and they were caught in his orbit. I'm not a good man, he'd said. I believed him. But good men didn't save dying mothers. Good men didn't offer impossible amounts of money to struggling waitresses. Good men didn't look at you like you were the most interesting thing in their world. Maybe I didn't need a good man. Maybe I just needed him. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Elena. Tomorrow your real life begins. No signature. But I knew who it was. I stared at those words until my eyes blurred, my heart beating too fast, knowing that I just stepped through a door that would never open the same way again. The surgery was scheduled for Thursday. 5 days after I started working for Matteo Vitali. 5 days that felt like 5 years. 5 days that changed everything. Dr. Spector called me personally on Tuesday morning while I was organizing files in my new office. Miss Russo, I don't know what you did or who you spoke to, but your mother's surgery is scheduled. We have the operating room, the specialist team is flying in from Boston, and everything is covered. Completely covered. My hands shook as I held the phone. All of it. All of it. Plus post-operative care, medication, recovery costs. Someone made a very generous donation to the hospital with specific instructions that it be used for your mother's treatment. He paused. You have a powerful friend, Miss Russo. Friend. Was that what Matteo was? I didn't know what to call him. Boss felt too distant. Benefactor felt too formal. The man who was saving my mother's life while slowly taking over my every waking thought felt too honest. Miss Russo. Are you still there? Yes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. I hung up and sat very still, trying to process. $250,000. Just like that. 'Cause I'd asked. Because he'd decided my mother deserved to live. The words hit like a slap. 'Cause he was right. Because I'd been so focused on not owing anyone that I'd been letting her die slowly. Why would you do this? My voice broke. You don't know me. I know enough. He stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something dark and expensive. And maybe I want to know more. The air between us felt charged. Dangerous. I should have stepped back. I didn't. Your mother, he said quietly. What's her name? Rosa. Tell me about her. So I did. Standing in that enormous office with the city spread below us, I told this dangerous stranger about my mother. How she used to sing while she cooked. How she came to America with nothing and built a life through sheer stubbornness. How the sickness had stolen her voice first, then her strength, but never her smile. Matteo listened like every word mattered. Like I mattered. She sounds like you, he said when I finished. Stubborn. Strong. Too proud for her own good. Is that a compliment? Always. A knock on the door broke the moment. A woman entered, tall and elegant with dark hair pulled back severely. She looked at me like I was dirt on an expensive rug. Matteo, your 2 o'clock is here. Cancel it. Her eyebrow arched. It's the Donovan contract. You said it was critical. I said cancel it, Isabel. His voice didn't rise, but something in it made the woman's spine stiffen. Reschedule for tomorrow. Today I'm getting Elena settled. Isabel's gaze flicked to me. Cold. Cessing. Of course. I'll take care of it. She left without another word, but I felt the hostility like a physical thing. Don't mind Isabel, Matteo said. She's been with me for 3 years. She doesn't like change. She doesn't like me. She doesn't trust you. There's a difference. He smiled. Give it time. She'll come around. I wasn't so sure. But I had bigger things to worry about. Like the fact that I'd just agreed to work for a man I barely knew. A man whose last name people whispered. A man who was offering to save my mother's life for reasons I didn't understand. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Matteo's assistant, a nervous young man named Carlo, showed me the computer systems, explained the filing structure, gave me passwords to accounts that held more money than I'd ever imagined existed. Mr. Vitali doesn't usually hire people himself, Carlo confided as he showed me how to access the calendar. Especially not for positions this close to him. Isabel handles all the hiring. Then why did he hire me? Carlo glanced toward Matteo's closed office door. I don't know. But he must see something special in you. Mr. Vitali doesn't do anything without a reason. That's what worried me. By 6 o'clock, my head was spinning with information. Matteo emerged from his office, jacket over his arm. Come on. I'll drive you home. You don't have to. Elena. He said my name like a reprimand. Stop arguing with me about every small thing. Save your stubbornness for the important battles. The smile took the sting out of his words. I followed him to the private elevator. His car was waiting in the garage. Not the one with the driver. This one he drove himself. Low and fast and probably cost more than a house. Address? He asked as we pulled into traffic. I gave it to him reluctantly. Letting him see where I lived felt like exposing a wound. But if he was horrified by the neighborhood, he didn't show it. He pulled up in front of my building like it was any other place. Elena. He turned to face me. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Carlo will have your employment paperwork ready. Sign it. Give him your mother's hospital information. The rest will be taken care of. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Something dark crossed his face. I'm not a good man, Elena. I'm not doing this out of the kindness of my heart. I want something from you too. My pulse jumped. What? Honesty. Loyalty. Your time and your attention. His eyes held mine. And maybe, eventually, your trust. That's all. That's everything. He reached across and opened my door. Dismissed. But gently. I climbed out into the rain, my mind spinning. At my building's entrance, I turned back. He was still there watching, making sure I got inside safely. I raised my hand in a small wave. He nodded once, then drove away into the night. Upstairs, my mother was awake, wrapped in blankets on the couch. Mia cara, you're late. I was worried. I sat beside her and took her thin hand in mine. Mama, I have something to tell you. I got a new job. Elena, the restaurant. I quit the restaurant. This is different. Better pay. Much better. I squeezed her fingers. And Mama, the surgery. The one Dr. Spector mentioned. We're going to do it. Her eyes filled with tears. We can't afford. We can now. My new boss, he's helping us. Elena, what did you promise this man? The question cut deep because she knew me. Knew I'd do anything to save her. Nothing I'm not willing to give, I said. Trust me, Mama. Please. She searched my face for a long moment, then nodded. You're a good daughter. Oh, good. But be careful, cara mia. Men who give expensive gifts always expect payment. One way or another. That night, lying in my narrow bed, I replayed the day over and over. Matteo's smile. His questions about my mother. The way he'd looked at me in his office like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Isabel's cold eyes. Carlo's warning. The way everyone in that building moved around Matteo like he was the sun and they were caught in his orbit. I'm not a good man, he'd said. I believed him. But good men didn't save dying mothers. Good men didn't offer impossible amounts of money to struggling waitresses. Good men didn't look at you like you were the most interesting thing in their world. Maybe I didn't need a good man. Maybe I just needed him. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Elena. Tomorrow your real life begins. No signature. But I knew who it was. I stared at those words until my eyes blurred, my heart beating too fast, knowing that I just stepped through a door that would never open the same way again. The surgery was scheduled for Thursday. 5 days after I started working for Matteo Vitali. 5 days that felt like 5 years. 5 days that changed everything. Dr. Spector called me personally on Tuesday morning while I was organizing files in my new office. Miss Russo, I don't know what you did or who you spoke to, but your mother's surgery is scheduled. We have the operating room, the specialist team is flying in from Boston, and everything is covered. Completely covered. My hands shook as I held the phone. All of it. All of it. Plus post-operative care, medication, recovery costs. Someone made a very generous donation to the hospital with specific instructions that it be used for your mother's treatment. He paused. You have a powerful friend, Miss Russo. Friend. Was that what Matteo was? I didn't know what to call him. Boss felt too distant. Benefactor felt too formal. The man who was saving my mother's life while slowly taking over my every waking thought felt too honest. Miss Russo. Are you still there? Yes. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. I hung up and sat very still, trying to process. $250,000. Just like that. 'Cause I'd asked. Because he'd decided my mother deserved to live. What kind of man had that much money to give away? What kind of man gave it without asking for anything in return? Except he had asked for something. Honesty. Loyalty. Trust. I was starting to understand those might be the most expensive things of all. Good news. Jump. Matteo stood in my doorway, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired. I'd learned in 5 days that he worked constantly. Meetings from dawn until late evening. Phone calls in 3 different languages. Contracts and deals and negotiations that made my head spin. But he always found time to check on me. To ask how I was settling in. To bring me coffee the way I liked it, sweet with too much cream, even though I'd only mentioned it once. The surgery is scheduled. Thursday morning. His expression softened. Good. That's good. Matteo, I can't. If you try to thank me again, I'm docking your pay. The threat was delivered with a smile, but I heard the steel underneath. He didn't want gratitude. It made him uncomfortable in a way that board meetings and tough negotiations never did. Then what do you want me to say? He crossed the room and sat on the edge of my desk, close enough that I could see the fine lines around his eyes, the small scar above his left eyebrow, details I'd been noticing far too much. Tell me you'll let me drive you to the hospital on Thursday. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to. I want to. His eyes searched mine. Let me be there, Elena. The request was so simple and so complicated. Letting him into this part of my life. Letting him see me scared and vulnerable. Letting him matter. Okay, I whispered. His smile could have lit the whole city. The rest of Tuesday and Wednesday blurred together. I learned the rhythm of Matteo's world. Morning meetings with men in expensive suits who looked at me with curiosity and speculation. Afternoon calls with international partners where Matteo switched between English, Italian, and something that sounded like Russian without missing a beat. He was brilliant, ruthless in negotiations, charming when it served him, cold when it didn't. But with me he was different. Patient when I made mistakes in the scheduling system. Amused when I accidentally hung up on an important client. Gentle when he caught me staring out the window. Worry about my mother eating me alive. She's strong, he said, appearing beside me at the window on Wednesday evening. Everyone else had gone home. Just us and the cleaning crew and the city lights below. Like her daughter. I'm not strong. I'm terrified. Strength isn't the absence of fear, Elena. It's being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway. He touched my shoulder. Just his hand on my shoulder, but I felt it everywhere. You've been doing that your whole life. I turned to look at him. We were standing too close. I should have stepped back. Neither of us moved. How do you know what I've been doing my whole life? I looked into you. After that night at the restaurant. The admission should have angered me. Instead I felt something else. Something warmer. And what did you find? That you came here when you were 19 with your mother and $300. That you worked 3 jobs to put yourself through community college before you had to drop out to pay for her medical bills. That you've never asked anyone for help. Never applied for assistance. Never borrowed money you couldn't pay back. His thumb moved against my shoulder. Small circles that made my breath catch. That you're exactly who I thought you were. Stubborn. Proud. Honest to a fault. You make those sound like good things. They are. To me. The air between us crackled with something I didn't want to name. Something dangerous and inevitable and completely inappropriate given that he was my boss and I'd known him less than a week. But when he looked at me like that, like I was something precious, all my logical objections dissolved. Matteo. I should let you go home. You need rest before tomorrow. But he didn't move. Though I could make you work late. Force you to stay here with me. You're my boss. You could make me do anything. No. His voice went rough. I couldn't. I wouldn't. Whatever happens between us, Elena, it happens because you choose it. Not because you owe me. Not because you need me. Because you want it. The honesty stole my breath. This powerful man giving me power over him. What if I don't know what I want yet? Then I wait until you do. He stepped back, breaking the spell. Professional distance restored. But I could still feel the ghost of his hand on my shoulder. Still see the heat in his eyes that his careful control couldn't quite hide. Come on. I'll drive you home. Thursday morning arrived cold and gray. Matteo picked me up at 5, driving through empty streets in silence. My mother was already at the hospital. They'd admitted her the night before to run pre-surgical tests. In the waiting room, Matteo bought terrible coffee from a vending machine and sat beside me without speaking. Just there. Solid and calm while I fell apart inside. What if it doesn't work? I whispered. Then we try something else. What if there is nothing else? He took my hand. threaded his fingers through mine. Then we deal with that when it comes. But don't borrow tomorrow's grief, Elena. Today has enough. Dr. Spector appeared in scrubs. We're ready for her. The procedure will take about 6 hours. We'll update you every 2 hours. 6 hours. I nodded numbly. They wheeled my mother past on a gurney. She looked so small, so fragile. But she smiled when she saw me. Mia cara. Don't look so worried. I'm tougher than I look. I kissed her forehead. I love you, Mama. I love you too. Now go. Let that handsome man of yours take care of you. Before I could correct her, they were gone. Through the double doors into surgery. Out of my reach. Matteo's hand tightened on mine. She'll be okay. You can't know that. No. But I believe it. So I'm choosing to believe it until I have reason not to. We sat. Waited. The minutes crawled by like wounded things. Matteo worked from his phone, one hand typing emails while the other held mine. I pretended to read a magazine. Really, I just stared at the same page for an hour. At the 2-hour mark, Dr. Spector came out. Everything is progressing well. We're ahead of schedule, actually. Her vitals are strong. 4 hours, another update. Excellent progress. The tumor is responding even better than we hoped. At 6 hours and 15 minutes, Dr. Spector emerged with her surgical mask pulled down and the first real smile I'd seen from her. She's out of surgery. It went perfectly. Better than perfectly. We removed everything. The margins are clear. If the biopsy confirms what we think, she's going to be okay, Miss Russo. Your mother is going to live. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't speak. The world tilted and suddenly Matteo's arms were around me, holding me up while I shattered into a million pieces of relief and joy and gratitude so overwhelming it hurt. Thank you, I sobbed into his chest. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shoo. It's okay. She's okay. His hand stroked my hair. You're both going to be okay now. I cried in his arms in that hospital waiting room while he held me like I was something breakable and precious. Like my pain mattered to him. Like I mattered. When I finally pulled back, embarrassed and red-eyed, he smiled and wiped my tears with his thumbs. Better. I got your shirt all wet. I have other shirts. Matteo, I don't know how to. He pressed his finger to my lips. What did I say about thanking me? You're docking my pay. Exactly. His smile faded into something more serious. I'm glad she's okay, Elena. Truly. They let me see her an hour later. She was unconscious still, breathing steady, color already better than I'd seen in months. I held her hand and cried fresh tears. Happy ones this time. Matteo waited outside, giving us privacy. When I emerged, he was on his phone, voice low and hard. I don't care what he wants. The answer is no. He had his chance, he made his choice, now he lives with it. 'Cause I said so. That's the only reason you need. He saw me and his expression shifted. Gentled. I have to go. Handle it. He hung up and pocketed the phone. How is she? Sleeping. But the color in her face. Matteo, she looks alive again. Good. He checked his watch. You should stay with her. I'll have Carlo bring you some food and a change of clothes. You're leaving. Something flickered in his eyes. Regret. I have a meeting I can't miss. But I'll be back tonight. I promise. He left and the waiting room felt colder. Dear. Carlo arrived an hour later with soup from an actual restaurant, not the hospital cafeteria, and a bag with clean clothes in my size. How did Matteo know my size? The thought should have concerned me. Instead, it made me feel cared for. My mother woke up at 8 that evening, groggy and confused but alive. So beautifully alive. Did it work? She whispered. It worked, Mama. They got it all. She cried. We held hands like when I was little and afraid of the dark, and only her touch could make the monsters go away. Except this time I'd slayed the monster. With Matteo's help. He returned at 9 with flowers. Real ones, not the sad grocery store kind. roses and lilies that filled the room with fragrance. "For the patient," he said, setting them on the windowsill. Then he pulled a second, smaller bouquet from behind his back. "Wildflowers. Simple and bright. And these are for the daughter who refused to give up." My mother watched this with sharp eyes despite the medication. "So you're the one." Matteo smiled. "I'm Matteo Vitali, Mrs. Russo. It's an honor to meet you. You paid for my surgery. I made a donation to the hospital. What they chose to do with it was their decision." My mother laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in months. "Diplomatic. I like that." Then her expression turned serious. "But I'm not stupid, Mr. Vitali. Men don't give this kind of money without expecting something in return." "Mama." "It's okay." Matteo pulled up a chair beside her bed. "You're right to be suspicious. But I'm not expecting anything except for your daughter to keep being exactly who she is. Honest, hardworking, too stubborn for her own good. She gets that from me. I believe it." They smiled at each other and something in my chest eased. My mother's approval had always mattered. I hadn't realized how much I wanted her to like him until she did. Visiting hours ended at 10. Matteo walked me to his car in the parking garage. "Thank you for the flowers. For being here. For everything. You're breaking the no-thanking rule." "Dock my pay then." He laughed. "Get in. I'm taking you home." But when we reached my building, I couldn't make myself get out of the car. The apartment would be empty. Quiet. I'd be alone with my thoughts and my overwhelming emotions and the terrifying realization that I was falling for a man I barely knew. "Elena." Matteo's voice was soft. "What are you thinking?" "That everything changed today. That my mother is going to live and I have a job I could never have imagined, and there's this man who barely knows me but saved my whole world and I don't understand any of it." I turned to face him. "I don't understand you. What do you want to understand?" "Why me?" "Really? Not the diplomatic answer you gave my mother. The truth." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Do you know what it's like to be surrounded by people who only see what you can give them? Money, power, connections. They look at me and see a means to an end." "Yes," I said honestly. "I served those people every night at the restaurant. You looked at me like I was dangerous. Like you wanted me to leave. Not because you didn't know who I was but because you did." His hand found mine in the darkness. "And then you spilled wine and you didn't grovel. Didn't make excuses. Didn't try to use your mistake to get closer to me. You were just honest. Yourself. It was the most refreshing thing I'd experienced in years. So you offered me a job. So I offered you a reason to stay in my life." The confession hung between us, heavy with meaning. "I'm not who you think I am," I whispered. "I'm not special. I'm just a girl who was desperate and lucky." "You're wrong." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "You're the most real thing in my carefully constructed world. And I'm selfish enough to want to keep you there." "Matteo." "I'm not asking for anything, Elena. Not yet. I'm just being honest. Because you deserve that from me." I should have pulled my hand away. Should have said good night and run upstairs to safety. Should have protected my heart from this dangerous, generous, complicated man. Instead, I squeezed his fingers. "My mother is going to recover. Because of you. I'm working a job that will change my life. Because of you. How am I supposed to know what's real between us and what's just gratitude?" "Time," he said simply. "Give it time. Let your mother heal. Let yourself adjust to your new life. And if, in a few months, you still feel something when I look at you the way I'm looking at you right now, then we'll know it's real. And if I don't," pain flickered across his face, "then I'll accept it. And be grateful I got to know you at all." He lifted my hand and kissed my knuckles. A gesture from another era. Old-fashioned and devastatingly romantic. "Good night, Elena. I'll see you at the office on Monday." Monday. Right. I'd forgotten about work. About everything except him. I climbed out of the car on shaking legs. At my building entrance I turned back. He was still there watching. Always watching. Making sure I was safe. I raised my hand in a wave. He nodded. Then I went inside and he drove away, and I stood in the lobby of my crumbling building wondering how my entire world had shifted in less than a week. Upstairs I found a package waiting outside my door. No return address. Inside was a new phone. Top of the line. Expensive. And a note in bold, masculine handwriting. So I can reach you whenever I need to. Which will be often. Sleep well. I clutched the phone to my chest and smiled like an idiot. My mother was going to live. I had a job that paid more than I'd ever dreamed. And somewhere in this city, a dangerous man with kind eyes and hidden depths was thinking about me the way I couldn't stop thinking about him. Everything had changed. There was no going back now. I'd made my choice the moment I dialed his number. The moment I accepted his help. The moment I let him see me cry. I was his. Not because I owed him. But because some part of me wanted to be. And that terrified me more than anything. 3 weeks passed in a blur of hospital visits and late nights at the office. My mother grew stronger every day. Color returned to her cheeks. Her laugh came easier. Dr. Spector used words like remarkable recovery and complete remission. Meanwhile, I learned to navigate Matteo's world. The meetings, the deals, the careful dance of power and money that happened behind closed doors. And I learned about him. Small things. He took his coffee black. Hated ties but wore them anyway. Spoke to his grandmother in Rome every Sunday morning without fail. Had a scar on his ribs he never explained. We didn't talk about what he'd said in the car that night. We didn't need to. It hung between us in every glance. Every accidental touch. Every moment we stayed late at the office when everyone else had gone home. Elena, can you stay? I need help with the Morrison contract. I always stayed. But on a rainy Tuesday in my 4th week, everything shifted. I arrived at the office to find Isabel in my chair, going through my computer. What are you doing? She looked up without guilt. Matteo asked me to pull some files. He could have asked me. He asked someone competent. She stood smoothing her skirt. No offense, but you're not exactly qualified for this position. We both know why you're really here. The implication stung. I work hard. You're pretty and he's interested. That's not the same as being good at your job. She moved past me toward the door. Enjoy it while it lasts. Men like Matteo get bored easily. She left me standing there, her words poisoning everything. Was she right? Was I just a distraction? Project. I was still spiraling when Matteo arrived an hour later. Good morning. He smiled but it faded when he saw my face. What's wrong? Nothing. Elena. Isabel was in my office. Going through my files. His expression hardened. I'll speak to her. Is she right? Am I just here because you feel sorry for me? He crossed the room in 3 strides. Look at me. I did. You're here because you're smart and hardworking and I trust you. Nothing else. Do you understand? I wanted to believe him. But doubt had taken root. The day got worse. At lunch, I overheard 2 executives talking in the break room. Vitali's new secretary. The Italian girl. Heard he paid for her mother's surgery. $250,000. For a secretary. Please. We all know what she's really doing to earn that money. I left without getting coffee. Went to the bathroom and cried silently in a stall. When I returned, there was an envelope on my desk. Inside, an invitation to a charity gala that weekend. And a note. I need a date. Please say yes. Date. In public. Where everyone would see us together and make assumptions. Where everyone would think exactly what those executives thought. But I wanted to go. Wanted to be seen with him. Wanted whatever this thing between us was to be real. I texted the new phone he'd given me. Yes. His reply came instantly. I'll pick you up at 7 on Saturday. Saturday arrived with anxiety that made me sick. I had nothing to wear to a gala. Nothing appropriate for Matteo's world. At noon, a delivery arrived at my apartment. 3 dresses. Designer labels I recognized from magazines. A note. Choose whichever makes you feel beautiful. I chose the midnight blue one. Simple. Elegant. Fit perfectly. Of course it did. He knew everything about me. My size. My style. My fears. Matteo arrived at 7 sharp in a black suit that made him look dangerous and devastating. His eyes when he saw me could have melted steel. You're stunning. It's the dress. It's you. The gala was in a ballroom that dripped crystal and wealth. Everyone who was anyone in the city was there. And they all stared when we walked in together. Matteo kept his hand on the small of my back. Possessive. Protective. Matteo Vitali. Didn't expect to see you at one of these things. A man approached. Older, silver-haired. Smile that didn't reach his eyes. William. Matteo's voice went cold. Always a displeasure. And who's this lovely creature? Elena Russo. My date. The way he said my sent shivers down my spine. William looked me over like I was livestock. Charming. Tell me, dear, how does a girl like you end up with a man like Matteo? I'm his secretary, I said evenly. Of course you are. His smile was razor-sharp. Matteo always did appreciate loyalty. Among other qualities. Matteo's hand tightened on my back. We're done here, William. He steered me away, jaw clenched. Who was that? Someone who should learn to keep his mouth shut. He grabbed 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter. Handed me one. I'm sorry. Some of these people are vultures. The evening continued in a haze of introductions and speculation. People smiled to our faces and whispered behind our backs. I felt every stare, every judgment. By 10 o'clock I needed air. I'm going to the balcony. I'll come with you. No. I just need a minute. Outside the night air was cool and clean. I gripped the railing and tried to breathe. Overwhelmed. Turned. Isabel stood in the doorway, champagne in hand. A little. You should be. She moved closer. This isn't your world, Elena. These people will eat you alive. Why do you hate me? I don't hate you. I pity you. She sipped her champagne. You think he cares about you. But Matteo doesn't care about anyone. He uses people. Discards them when they're no longer useful. You've worked for him for 3 years. Exactly. Worked for him. Not with him. There's a difference. Her eyes glittered. He's never looked at me the way he looks at you. Never bought me dresses or paid for family emergencies. Know why? I said nothing. Because I'm competent. Professional. I know my place. She set down her glass. But you're different. You're a project. Distraction. And when he gets bored you'll be destroyed. So enjoy it while it lasts. But don't say I didn't warn you. She left me alone with her poison. I stood there, dressed beautiful and borrowed, surrounded by wealth I'd never have, and wondered if she was right. Then Matteo appeared. There you are. I was worried. I'm fine. You're not. He studied my face. What happened? Nothing. Just needed air. Elena. Don't lie to me. Everyone thinks I'm sleeping with you for money. Or, the truth. Raw and ugly. He was quiet for a moment. Does it matter what they think? Yes. Well, I don't know. I turned to face him. Are you using me? Pain flashed across his face. Is that what you think? I don't know what to think anymore. He moved closer. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. See the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. I brought you to my world too fast. I see that now. But Elena, I'm not using you. I'm falling for you. Have been since you spilled wine on my table and looked at me like I was the problem, not the solution. Matteo. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to feel the same way. But don't doubt that what I feel is real. His hand cupped my face. You're the most real thing in my life. I should have pulled away. Should have protected myself. Instead, I leaned into his touch. I'm scared. Of me. Of this. Of how much I'm starting to need you. His thumb brushed my cheek. Then we'll be scared together. He leaned down slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Our first kiss was soft, gentle. Question and an answer all at once. When we pulled apart, the world had shifted again. Take me home, I whispered. He did. Drove me to my apartment in charged silence. Walked me to my door like a gentleman. Good night, Elena. Stay. The word hung between us, heavy with meaning. If I stay, everything changes. I know. I want you to be sure. I'm sure. He kissed me again, deeper this time, desperate, like he'd been holding back for weeks and finally broke. Inside my apartment we fell into each other, urgent and clumsy and perfect. Afterward, lying in my narrow bed with him wrapped around me, I felt safe for the first time in years. I'm still scared, I whispered into the darkness. Good. His arms tightened. Fear means it matters. I fell asleep in his arms, believing everything would be okay. I was wrong. Monday morning I woke up alone. Matteo had left before dawn with a kiss to my forehead and a whispered promise to see me at the office. I floated through my morning routine. Visited my mother, who took one look at my face and smiled knowingly. You're glowing, Cara. I couldn't stop smiling. At the office that smile died. Isabel was waiting at my desk with a manila folder. You should see this before Matteo gets here. What is it? She opened the folder. Inside were photographs. Matteo and me at the gala. Matteo and me entering my building. Articles printed from gossip websites with headlines that made me sick. Mob boss's new plaything. Vitali's latest conquest. Waitress turned mistress. From rags to riches. The price of Matteo Vitali's affection. My hands shook. Where did these come from? They're everywhere. Online. Social media. Someone at the gala sold the photos. Isabel's voice was almost gentle. I tried to warn you. I stared at the images. At the way Matteo looked at me. At how obvious it was that we were more than boss and employee. There's more. She pulled out another document. The hospital donation. It wasn't anonymous like you thought. Matteo made sure his name was attached. Made sure everyone knew he paid for your mother's surgery. Why would he do that? Because men like him don't do anything without a reason. And now everyone knows you belong to him. The word belong hit like a slap. Before I could respond, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Hello. Miss Russo, this is Amanda Spector from the New York Tribune. I'd like to ask you some questions about your relationship with Matteo Vitali. Hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number. Elena Russo. This is regarding the Vitali story. We're offering $10,000 for an exclusive interview. I turned off my phone with shaking hands. It's going to get worse, Isabel said quietly. This is what his world looks like. Scrutiny. Judgment. Your whole life dissected for entertainment. The elevator dinged. Matteo stepped out, phone to his ear, looking furious. I don't care what it costs. Find out who leaked the photos and handle it. He saw me and his expression shifted. I'll call you back. He crossed to me in quick strides. Elena. I'm so sorry. I'm handling this. Did you put your name on the hospital donation? He went still. Yes. Why? Because I wanted to. Because your mother deserved the best care and my name ensured she got it. Or because you wanted everyone to know I owe you. Pain flashed across his face. You don't believe that. I don't know what to believe anymore. I gestured at the photographs. Look at this. Look at what they're saying. I don't care what they say. Well, I do. They're calling me a prostitute, Matteo. Saying I slept my way into this job. Anyone who knows you knows that's not true. Nobody knows me. I've been here a month. But everyone knows you. Knows your reputation. Knows what you are. The words came out harsher than I intended. Matteo's face went blank. Carefully neutral. What I am, he repeated softly. Say it, Elena. What am I? I didn't mean. You did. You meant exactly what Isabel and William and every other vulture in this city has been telling you. That I'm dangerous. That I use people. That you're just another possession. Are you saying that's not true? The question hung between us like a knife. If you have to ask, he said quietly, then we have nothing left to say. He turned and walked into his office. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like an ending. I stood there, surrounded by photographs and accusations, and felt everything crumbling. My phone buzzed. My mother's doctor. Miss Russo, we need to discuss your mother's medication costs. The account that was covering her prescriptions has been frozen. We need payment information or we'll have to discontinue her treatment. Ice flooded my veins. Frozen. By who? I don't have that information. Sorry. But we need this resolved by end of day. I hung up and stared at Matteo's closed door. Had he done this? Cut off my mother's medication because I'd questioned him? Well, he wouldn't. He couldn't. But men like him don't do anything without a reason. Isabel's voice whispered in my head. I grabbed my bag and left. Took the elevator down 40 floors and walked out into the cold morning air. Behind me, through the glass doors, I saw Matteo emerge from his office. Saw him look at my empty desk. Saw something on his face that looked like devastation. Then I turned the corner and he was gone. My phone rang again. The hospital. Then a reporter. Then a number I didn't recognize. I turned it off and kept walking. By noon I'd made my decision. I couldn't do this. Couldn't be the girl in the photographs. Couldn't survive in Matteo's world of power and scrutiny and tests I didn't know I was taking. I went home. Wrote a resignation letter on paper because I couldn't turn on my phone. Left it on my table. Then I went to the hospital to tell my mother we were leaving. Going back to Sicily where life was hard but honest. Where I knew who I was. She was sleeping. The machines beeped steadily. I sat beside her bed and held her hand and tried not to cry. You're making a mistake. I looked up. Matteo stood in the doorway. How did you find me? I always know where you are. He moved into the room. The medication account. That wasn't me. Someone hacked the hospital system. I've already fixed it. How convenient. Elena, please. Listen to me. No. You listen. I stood to face him. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough for your world. For the cameras and the gossip and never knowing who to trust. You can trust me. Can I? You paid for my mother's surgery and attached your name. Made sure everyone knew. Why? Because I'm proud to help you. Because I don't hide what I care about. Or because you wanted to own me. The accusation hit him like a physical blow. Is that really what you think? I wanted to say no. Wanted to take it back. But fear had its claws in me and wouldn't let go. I think you're used to buying what you want. And I think I let myself be bought. Then there's nothing more to say. His voice was cold. Me. I'll have your final paycheck sent over. The medication account will stay open until your mother is fully recovered. After that we're done. He turned to leave. Matteo, wait. He stopped but didn't turn around. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I know. But I can't fight your fear and the world at the same time. You have to choose to trust me, Elena. And you've made your choice. He walked out. I sank into the chair beside my mother's bed and finally let myself cry. I'd wanted safety. Wanted to protect my heart. Wanted to run before he could destroy me. Instead, I destroyed everything myself. I didn't go back to the office. Didn't call. Didn't answer when Carlo tried to reach me on my old phone. 3 days passed in a fog of regret and grief. My mother recovered enough to come home on Wednesday. She took one look at my face and knew. You ended it. There was nothing to end. It was all just a fantasy. You're lying to yourself, Cara. She settled onto the couch with a wince. That man loves you. And you love him. Love isn't enough. No. It requires courage too. Which you had until you let fear win. Her words stung because they were true. I'd spent my whole life being brave, working impossible hours, caring for her alone, surviving on nothing but pride and stubbornness. But the moment someone offered me something real, something precious, I'd run. Thursday morning, someone knocked on my door. Not Matteo. Isabel. What do you want? To apologize. She looked uncomfortable. Genuine. I lied to you. About the hospital account being frozen. About a lot of things. My blood went cold. What? I was jealous. Matteo never looked at me the way he looked at you. So I tried to poison it. Showed you those articles. Made you doubt him. She met my eyes. The photos were leaked by William Delano, Matteo's business rival. He wanted to hurt Matteo by hurting you. And I helped by making you think Matteo was behind the medication freeze. But he wasn't. He was trying to protect you the whole time. Why are you telling me this now? Because I went to the office today and saw him. Really saw him. Her voice cracked. He looks destroyed, Elena. And I realized I didn't just hurt you. I hurt the only decent man I've ever worked for. She left me standing there, the truth crashing down. I'd been so afraid of being hurt that I'd hurt him instead. Believed the worst because it was easier than believing I deserved the best. Called his office. Carlo answered. Elena. Thank God. He's been. I need to talk to him. He's not here. He flew to Rome yesterday. Some family emergency with his grandmother. Boom. An ocean away. When is he coming back? Silence. He didn't say. He told me to cancel all his meetings indefinitely. I hung up and stared at my apartment. At the life I'd almost thrown away out of fear. My mother watched from the couch. What are you going to do? I don't know. He's gone. He probably hates me. So you're giving up. The daughter I raised fights for what she wants. What if it's too late? Then at least you tried. At least you were brave enough to fail. She struggled to sit up straighter. I almost died, Elena. You know what I regretted most? Not the things I did. The things I was too afraid to do. Don't make my mistakes. I looked at her. Really looked. At the color in her cheeks. The strength returning to her body. All because Matteo had cared enough to save her. Had cared enough to save me. And I'd thrown it back in his face. I grabbed my laptop. Searched flights to Rome. They were expensive. So expensive. But I had a month's salary from Vitali Enterprises sitting in my bank account. Money I'd earned. Money that was mine. I booked the ticket before I could talk myself out of it. I'm going to Rome, I told my mother. She smiled. Now that's my daughter. I had no idea if Matteo would see me. No idea if he'd forgive me. No idea if I could fix what I'd broken. But I had to try. Because somewhere between spilled wine and hospital waiting rooms and midnight kisses, I'd fallen completely in love with him. And love without courage was just another form of cowardice. I was done being a coward. Rome was beautiful and overwhelming, and I had no idea where to start. I'd flown overnight, arrived Friday morning with nothing but a carry-on bag and Matteo's business card that I'd kept in my wallet like a talisman. The address listed was for Vitali Enterprises International Headquarters. I took a cab there, practicing what I'd say in 3 different languages, all of which abandoned me the moment I walked into the sleek lobby. I'm looking for Matteo Vitali. The receptionist looked me over with polite dismissal. Mr. Vitali is not in the office. Do you have an appointment? No, but I work for him. In New York. It's urgent. I'm sorry, but Mr. Vitali left strict instructions not to be disturbed. If you'd like to leave a message. Please. I came all the way from New York. I just need to know where to find him. Her expression softened slightly. I truly cannot help you. I'm sorry. I stood in that lobby, jet-lagged and desperate, and wanted to cry. Then my phone rang. Carlo. Elena, thank God. Where are you? Rome. I'm trying to find Matteo, but nobody will tell me where he is. His grandmother's villa. Outside the city. But Elena, you should know. He's not doing well. He's been. Carlo's voice dropped. He told his grandmother he's done with New York, that he's staying in Rome permanently. He's shutting down the New York office. The words hit like a punch. What? He's transferring everything here. All operations. He said there's nothing left for him in New York. Nothing. Meaning me. Meaning I destroyed this so completely he was burning down his entire life to escape it. Carlo, I need the address. Please. He hesitated. If I give it to you and he gets angry, then he gets angry at me, not you. Please, Carlo. I have to fix this. He gave me the address. I wrote it on my palm with a pen from the reception desk. The villa was an hour outside Rome, tucked into hills covered in olive groves, ancient stone walls, gardens that had been there for centuries. The kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself. I paid the cab driver with almost the last of my cash and stood at the iron gates, heart hammering. An intercom crackled. See. My name is Elena Russo. I'm here to see Matteo Vitali. Long silence. Then, un momento. I waited, watching clouds roll over the hills, wondering if I'd come all this way just to be turned away at the gate. The intercom crackled again. Different voice. Older. Female. You're the girl from New York. Yes, signora. The one who broke my grandson's heart. Closed my eyes. Yes. Good. Come fix it. The gate swung open. I walked up a long gravel drive, legs shaking. The villa rose before me, beautiful and intimidating. A woman waited at the entrance. 70s white hair, sharp eyes that saw everything. Nana Teresa, she introduced herself. You look terrible. I flew overnight. You look terrible because you're in love and scared. Tell me everything. She led me to a terrace overlooking the valley. Poured me wine even though it was barely noon. Waited. So I told her. All of it. The restaurant. The spilled wine. The job offer. My mother's surgery. The photographs. The fight. My fear. My stupidity. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. My grandson, she said finally, has been taught his whole life that people only want him for what he can give them. Money, power, protection. His father taught him that. The world reinforced it. She sipped her wine. Then you came along. A girl who didn't want anything from him. Who looked at him like he was a problem, not a prize. Do you know how rare that is? I didn't mean to hurt him. But you did. Because you believe the same thing everyone else does. That his kindness must have a price. That his generosity must be manipulation. Her eyes pinned me. Did it ever occur to you that he simply loved you? That it was just that simple and that complicated? Tears spilled down my cheeks. I was scared. Of course you were. Love is terrifying. Especially when it's real. He stood. He's down by the olive grove. The old one past the fountain. Oh. Tell him what you told me. And Elena, don't run this time. No matter how afraid you get. I found him exactly where she said. Sitting on a stone wall under ancient trees, staring at nothing. He looked different. Tired. Older. The light that usually burned in him had dimmed. Matteo. He turned. Shock, then pain, then carefully controlled nothing. What are you doing here? I came to apologize. To explain. To beg if I have to. You should have saved your money. There's nothing to explain. He turned back to the valley. You made yourself clear. I was wrong. About everything. I moved closer, even though he radiated stay away. Isabel told me the truth. That she manipulated me. That you never froze my mother's medication. That you were trying to protect me the whole time. So you believe her now, but you couldn't believe me then. The accusation was fair and it hurt. You're right. I should have trusted you. Should have fought for us instead of running. But Matteo, I'd spent my whole life learning that nothing comes without a price. That kindness is just manipulation waiting to reveal itself. You can't blame me for being what life made me. I don't blame you. His voice was hollow. I blame myself. For moving too fast. For thinking I could pull you into my world and you'd be okay. For believing I deserved something good. Stop. I grabbed his arm, forced him to look at me. You deserve everything good. You saved my mother's life. You gave me a chance when I had nothing. You looked at me like I mattered when the whole world had taught me I was invisible. And you looked at me like I was a monster the second things got difficult. Because I was terrified. The words burst out. Because I'd never had anything worth losing before. Because loving you meant giving you the power to destroy me, and I didn't know how to do that. Silence. The wind moved through the olive trees. You love me, he said quietly. Yes, love you. I've loved you since you laughed when I spilled wine on your table. Since you held my hand in a hospital waiting room. Since you made my mother smile for the first time in months. I stepped closer. I love you, and I'm sorry I was too afraid to say it when it mattered. And now? Are you still afraid? Terrified. But I got on a plane and flew across an ocean and tracked you down anyway. 'Cause you were right. Fear means it matters. And you matter more than my fear. He stared at me for a long moment. I watched him war with himself. Saw the hurt and hope battling in his eyes. If I forgive you, he said slowly. If we try this again, I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll fight. When things get hard, when people say terrible things, when your fear tells you to run. Promise me you'll stay and fight instead. I promise. Promise me you'll trust that what I feel is real. That I'm not playing games. That when I say I love you, I mean it with everything I am. I promise. Tears streamed down my face. Matteo, I promise. He reached up and wiped my tears with his thumbs. The gesture so familiar it broke something open in my chest. I love you, Elena Russo. I loved you when you were a waitress with holes in your shoes. I love you now, standing in my grandmother's olive grove with jet lag and desperation written all over your face. I'll love you tomorrow and every day after if you'll let me. Yes, I sobbed. Yes, please, yes. He kissed me then. Deep and desperate and full of all the fear and hope and love we'd been too afraid to name. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. I'm not going back to New York, he said. I meant what I told Carlo. I'm done with that life. My heart sank. Oh, unless. He pulled back to look at me. Unless you come with me. Split our time between here and there. Build something new. Something that's ours, not the world's. You'd do that. Restructure your entire life. Elena, you are my life now. Everything else is just details. I kissed him again. Softer this time. Promise and a beginning. Your grandmother is terrifying, I whispered against his lips. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound full of light and life and everything I'd been afraid I'd killed. Wait until you meet the rest of the family. They're going to love you. Or hate me for hurting you. Both probably. But they'll come around. You're very hard to resist. His arms tightened around me. Trust me. I tried. We sat on that stone wall under ancient olive trees as the sun moved across the sky, and I finally understood what it meant to be brave. It wasn't the absence of fear. It was loving someone enough to face the fear together. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't facing anything alone. We stayed in Rome for a week. Long enough for me to meet Nonna Teresa's extended family. Long enough for Matteo to teach me which wines came from which hills. Long enough to remember what it felt like to breathe. But New York called us back. Unfinished business. Loose ends that needed tying. My mother cried when she saw us together at the airport. You found him. He let me find him, I corrected, squeezing Matteo's hand. She hugged him like a son. Thank you for not giving up on my stubborn daughter. Someone wise once told me stubbornness runs in the family, he said, smiling. Back at Vitali Enterprises, the whispers started immediately. Lena's back. They're together. Did you see the way he looks at her? Let them whisper. I didn't care anymore. Isabel was waiting at my desk, pale and nervous. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I could have been cruel. Could have made her suffer. Instead, I remembered my own mistakes. We all make choices we regret. What matters is what we do after. Relief flooded her face. Thank you. She started to leave, then turned back. William Delano. The man who leaked the photos. He's planning something bigger. I heard him on the phone at the gala. He wants to destroy Matteo's reputation completely. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm done being the person who makes things worse. She handed me a flash drive. Everything I know about William's plan. Give it to Matteo. I did. That afternoon, in his office with the door closed. Matteo plugged in the drive and went very still as he read. Then he made 3 phone calls in rapid Italian. When he finished, his smile was sharp and dangerous. What did you do? William wanted to play games. So we're going to play. He stood, reached for his jacket. Come with me. I want you to see this. We drove to a restaurant across town. Expensive. Exclusive. The kind of place where deals were made and broken. William Delano sat at a corner table, smug and unsuspecting. Until Matteo walked in with me on his arm and half a dozen federal investigators behind him. William, we need to talk about your creative accounting practices. And your connections to some very interesting offshore accounts. William's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. No. Then you won't mind explaining it to these gentlemen. Matteo gestured to the investigators. Turns out, when you try to destroy someone, you should make sure your own house is clean first. They led William out in handcuffs. The entire restaurant watched in silence. Outside, I turned to Matteo. You set him up. No. I just gave the authorities information about crimes he'd already committed. He destroyed himself. I just helped it along. That's terrifying. That's protection. He cupped my face. No one hurts you and walks away, Elena. Not him. Not anyone. The possessiveness should have scared me. Instead, it made me feel cherished. That evening, Matteo called a company-wide meeting. Everyone crammed into the largest conference room, buzzing with speculation. He stood at the front, commanding and calm, with me beside him. I'm sure you've all heard the rumors. So let me make something clear. Elena Russo is not just my secretary. She's the woman I love. The woman I plan to spend my life with. If anyone has a problem with that, you can leave now. Silence. No one moved. Good. Then let's get back to work. He took my hand and led me out, leaving a room full of shocked faces behind. You didn't have to do that, I said. Yes, I did. No more hiding. No more letting people make assumptions. He stopped, turned to face me. I want the world to know you're mine. If you'll have me, I'm yours. I've been yours since that first night. He kissed me in the hallway with half the company watching. I kissed him back and didn't care who saw. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from Carlo. The New York Tribune just published a retraction. Apologized for the hit pieces. Apparently someone bought the paper and installed a new editor who values truth over gossip. Any idea who? I showed Matteo. He smiled innocently. You bought a newspaper. I bought several things today. A newspaper. Building. A ring. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Though the ring is the only one I care about. My heart stopped. Matteo. I'm not asking yet. We've only known each other 2 months. But I'm telling you my intentions. He opened the box. A simple diamond that caught the light like a promise. When you're ready. When you're sure. This is waiting. I looked at the ring. At him. At the life we were building together. Ask me now. Elena. Ask me now. I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything. He dropped to one knee in my tiny apartment with its broken elevator and thin walls. Elena Russo. Will you marry me? Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives? Will you build a family with me and fight with me and trust me even when it's hard? Yes. Yes to everything. He slid the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. He knew everything about me. We made love that night like it was the first time and the 1000th time all at once. Like we were sealing a promise that nothing could break. Afterward, lying in the dark with his heartbeat under my ear, I finally felt it. His certainty. I love you, I whispered. I love you more. Impossible. We'll argue about it for the next 50 years. I smiled into his chest. I look forward to it. Outside, the city hummed with light and life and possibility. Inside we held each other and dreamed of the future. A future we'd almost lost. A future we'd fought for. A future that was finally completely ours. 6 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in Nonna Teresa's villa, adjusting the simple white dress I'd chosen for our wedding. Small ceremony. Just family. Exactly what we both wanted. My mother sat behind me, healthy and glowing, fastening a vintage necklace around my neck. Something borrowed, she said softly. From my wedding to your father. I met her eyes in the mirror. How do I look? Like a woman who knows exactly what she wants. She squeezed my shoulders. I'm so proud of you, Cara. For being brave enough to choose love. The surgery had worked better than anyone dreamed. Complete remission. Dr. Spector called it miraculous. I called it Matteo, who'd made sure she had the best care, the best doctors, the best chance. She'd never have to count coins again. Neither would I. But the greatest gift wasn't the money. It was the peace. The certainty. The knowledge that we were building something real. Knock on the door. Nonna Teresa entered, elegant in navy silk. It's time, Cara. Your stubborn man is getting impatient. I laughed. He can wait 5 more minutes. He's waited his whole life for you. But yes, make him wait a little longer. It's good for him. The ceremony was in the olive grove where I'd found him 6 months ago. Sunset painted the hills gold. Our closest friends and family gathered under the ancient trees. And Matteo, standing at the makeshift altar in a dark suit, looking at me like I was his entire world. We'd written our own vows. His were simple and devastating. Elena, you saw me when I was invisible. You challenged me when everyone else feared me. You ran from me, then ran back to me. You taught me that love isn't about control or possession. It's about trust. About choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I choose you today and every day after. Forever. Mine were Messier, tear-stained, honest. Matteo, you saved my mother's life. But more than that, you saved mine. You showed me that accepting help isn't weakness. That being loved doesn't mean losing myself. That I can be strong and vulnerable at the same time. You're my partner, my home, my greatest adventure. Choose you. Always. We sealed it with a kiss as the sun dipped below the hills and everyone cheered. At the reception, someone made a toast. Then another. Stories and laughter and joy. Carlo stood slightly drunk, grinning. To the woman who brought our terrifying boss to his knees. And to Matteo, who proved that even the most powerful man is helpless against the right woman. Everyone raised their glasses. Then Matteo stood, pulling me up with him. One more toast. To Elena, who spilled wine on my table and my entire carefully controlled life. Best accident that ever happened to me. I laughed through tears. It wasn't an accident. My hands were shaking because you scared me. I still scare you sometimes. Good. Keeps things interesting. He kissed me in front of everyone, deep and possessive and tender all at once. Later, when the party had quieted and guests were scattered across the villa's gardens, we slipped away to the stone wall where I'd found him that day. Mrs. Vitali, he said, testing out the name. How does it feel? Strange. Perfect. Terrifying. So normal for us then. I leaned against him, watching stars emerge. Do you ever think about that night at the restaurant? What would have happened if Giuseppe had given your table to Sofia instead? Every day. Then I thank God for Sofia's fake illness and your trembling hands. I've gotten better at pouring wine. You've gotten better at everything. running my New York office, managing my chaos, putting up with my family. It was true. After the wedding, we'd split our time. 6 months in New York, 6 in Rome. I'd taken over the New York operations while Matteo focused on international expansion. Turned out I was good at business, good at managing people, good at building something that mattered. I have news, I said quietly. He turned to look at me. Good news or bad news? Good. Think. I hope. I took his hand and placed it on my stomach. We're going to need to expand the villa. Add a nursery. He went very still. Elena, are you saying? I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. I found out yesterday. Joy transformed his face. Then concern. Are you happy? Is this what you want? Terrified and happy. Seems to be my permanent state around you. He kissed me softly. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He held me as the night deepened around us, his hand protective over my stomach where our future grew. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For spilling that wine. For calling my number. For flying to Rome. For choosing me even when it was hard. His arms tightened. For giving me a family. Real one. Built on love, not obligation. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. For saving my mother. For teaching me that being loved doesn't mean being owned. We sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd almost lost everything and found each other instead. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Congratulations on your marriage, Mrs. Vitali. Your story inspired me. I'm a waitress in Boston working double shifts for my sick father. Reading about you gave me hope. Thank you for that. I showed Matteo. He smiled. You're famous now. The waitress who married the monster. You're not a monster. No. But I was becoming one. Until you. I kissed him as the Italian stars wheeled overhead and thought about that girl in Boston. About all the girls working double shifts and counting coins and believing they had to do it alone. Maybe our story could show them something different. That asking for help wasn't weakness. That love could come from unexpected places. That sometimes the scary man in the corner booth was exactly what you needed. Or maybe it was just our story. Messy and complicated and real. Either way, it was ours. 6 months later, I'd stand in a different hospital. Matteo beside me, holding my hand through every contraction, every push, every terrifying beautiful moment. We'd name her Rosa after my mother. And Teresa after his grandmother. She'd have his dark eyes and my stubborn chin. She'd grow up between 2 countries, speaking 3 languages, never knowing what it meant to be invisible. She'd be loved fiercely by 2 people who'd almost lost each other. Who'd learned that the best things in life were worth fighting for. But that was still ahead of us. Tonight we just held each other under the olive trees and dreamed. I love you, Elena Vitali. I love you, Matteo. My terrifying, generous, impossible man. Your man, he corrected. Always yours. Always. The word tasted like a promise. Like hope. Like home. And somewhere in New York, in a restaurant where I used to work double shifts, a girl with holes in her shoes poured wine for people who didn't see her. Her hands trembled. The wine splashed. And a man at table 12 smiled.